On the night of June 5, 1944, just hours before the Allied D-Day invasion, a small team of American paratroopers prepares for a high-risk operation deep in Nazi-occupied France. Their goal is to destroy a German radio transmitter installed atop a church in a rural village. If the tower is eliminated, Allied aircraft will be able to provide air support to the troops landing on the beaches at dawn. Among the soldiers is Private Boyce, who has only been in the Army for 3 months. As their transport plane nears the drop zone, the paratroopers are forced to leap into the chaos below. Many die, either in the air or upon impact, but Boyce survives by plunging into a river. He soon encounters Corporal Ford, his superior. As they move forward together, they locate 3 more survivors: Tibet, Chase, and Dawson. Since Ford outranks the others, he takes command and orders the group to continue toward the village. While passing through the forest, they notice a young Frenchwoman named Chloe. Alarmed by the sight of armed soldiers, she tries to flee, but Ford insists on pursuing her, unwilling to risk their mission being exposed. When they catch her, she pulls a knife in self-defense, but Ford easily disarms her. Boyce, who speaks French, explains that they only need help reaching the village. Though hesitant, Chloe agrees and leads them to her home, where she lives with her younger brother Paul and their bedridden aunt. Boyce stays outside with Chloe while the rest of the squad searches the house. An elderly neighbor reports her to the Nazis for violating curfew. Soon, German soldiers arrive and begin harassing her, until Captain Waffner, a high-ranking officer who has a personal interest in Chloe, intervenes. Once the soldiers are gone, Boyce and Chloe return inside. The group hears disturbing noises behind a closed door, which Chloe explains belongs to her ill aunt. When Boyce investigates, he discovers a woman grotesquely disfigured. Chloe explains that the Nazis have been taking villagers to the church, where a doctor conducts terrifying experiments. Her hatred for the Germans runs deep, as her parents were killed during these experiments. Not long afterward, Waffner knocks on the door. Boyce, Ford, and Paul hide in the attic, while Chloe reluctantly lets him inside. Waffner begins pressuring her, reminding her that she must submit to him to protect her family. Watching from above, Boyce is furious and wants to intervene immediately. He charges downstairs and aims his weapon at Waffner. Ford joins him, and together they overpower the officer, beating him severely before tying him up in the attic for questioning. With Waffner secured, Ford orders Boyce to scout the church. When Boyce reaches the site, he witnesses German soldiers burning deformed villagers alive with flamethrowers. He spots a passing truck and leaps inside to escape, only to realize the vehicle is loaded with dead bodies. The truck drives straight into the heavily guarded church compound. Inside, Boyce explores the underground facility, discovering prison cells. Through a small opening, he glimpses a monstrous figure locked inside one of them. Moving deeper, he finds a laboratory filled with victims sealed in bags. Among the equipment, he notices a vial containing a mysterious red serum and pockets it. Then he hears faint cries for help. Following the sound, he finds Rosenfeld, a fellow paratrooper, strapped to an operating table. Boyce tries to free him, but before he can, Dr. Schmidt enters the room, forcing Boyce to hide. Boyce watches in horror as Schmidt injects a corpse with the red serum. The body suddenly convulses and then comes back to life. The reanimated soldier is locked in a morgue cell, and Schmidt casually leaves the room. Once the doctor is gone, Boyce rushes back to Rosenfeld and frees him. Rosenfeld screams in pain as the device is torn away. Knowing time is running out, they spot a sewer grate, pry it open, and escape into the tunnels below. Back at Chloe's house, Boyce storms in with Rosenfeld and recounts everything he witnessed at the church. The others dismiss his story as impossible, and Ford is furious that Boyce failed to scout the radio tower as ordered. To prove his claims, he produces the vial of red serum. Ford turns to Waffner and demands answers. Smiling smugly, Waffner admits that the villagers' bodies are being used to create something greater. Overcome with rage, Chloe stabs him in revenge for her parents and her aunt. The soldiers restrain her and send her downstairs, while Ford takes over the interrogation. He mercilessly tortures Waffner, beating him again and again until he finally breaks. Under pressure, Waffner reveals that 40 German soldiers are stationed at the church tower. Then Ford prepares the squad for battle and orders Chase to ready Waffner for transport. They intend to use him as bait in their assault. When Chase heads to the attic, he finds Waffner lying still, appearing lifeless. Assuming the officer is dead, Chase lowers his guard. Suddenly, Waffner springs back to life and attacks, slamming Chase aside. The rest of the squad rushes in and manages to overpower him, but Chase has been mortally wounded. Desperate to save him, Boyce pulls out the syringe he stole from the church and injects it to Chase. To everyone's shock, Chase suddenly comes back to life. At first, he insists that he feels normal, complaining only of intense thirst, but moments later, his body temperature skyrockets and his bones begin snapping and twisting. The soldiers watch in terror as Chase transforms into a hideous, zombie-like creature. Demanding answers, the squad turns to Waffner. Despite his injuries, the officer grins and explains that the serum's true purpose is to revive the dead and turn them into monstrous super soldiers. Chase soon loses all control and lunges at Boyce, demanding to know what was done to him. The others try to restrain him, but he strikes back with unnatural strength. Ford unloads his weapon into Chase, yet the bullets barely slow him. In the end, Boyce repeatedly smashes him with the butt of his rifle until the creature finally collapses. The chaos gives Waffner his chance to escape. As he flees, he takes young Paul, dragging the boy with him as a hostage. By the time the squad realizes what's happening, Waffner has already alerted nearby German forces, triggering a brutal firefight. The Americans kill many Nazis, but Waffner survives and escapes with Paul. Chloe begs the soldiers to rescue her brother, but Ford insists the mission must come first. Boyce strongly objects, arguing that Paul is in danger because of them and cannot be abandoned. He proposes to destroy the entire church, eliminating both the radio tower and the secret laboratory beneath it. Tebey supports Boyce, and after hesitation, Ford finally agrees. Meanwhile, Waffner staggers into the laboratory, racked with pain and missing half his face. He orders Dr. Schmidt to inject him with the serum. The doctor warns him that it has never been tested on a living person, but Waffner doesn't hesitate. He injects himself, and his body convulses violently, bones warping and flesh mutating as he roars in agony. Elsewhere, Chloe is chased by a Nazi soldier who corners her in an isolated area and attempts to assault her. Before he can act, Ford emerges from behind and knocks the man unconscious. Shortly afterward, that same soldier arrives at the church in his vehicle, but his mouth is sealed shut with duct tape. Confused, the other Nazis gather around him. When they rip the tape away, a grenade hidden in his mouth detonates, unleashing a massive explosion that kills dozens of German soldiers instantly. As reinforcements flood the area, Rosenfeld and Tebey launch a surprise attack and eliminate most of the remaining Nazis. Using the chaos as cover, Boyce, Ford, and Chloe enter the compound through the sewers. Once inside, Chloe breaks away, determined to find her brother. She captures a frightened German soldier at gunpoint and forces him to lead her to Paul. The man takes her into a chamber filled with half-dead experimental victims. The soldier then turns his weapon on her, but Boyce intervenes at the last second and kills him. Together, they push forward until they find Paul strapped to a table in the lab. Boyce orders Chloe to escape with her brother through the sewers while he stays behind. As Chloe and Paul flee, a zombie creature blocks their path. Chloe tells her brother to run while she stands her ground. She fires 3 shots, but the monster keeps coming. Spotting a flamethrower, she grabs it and burns the creature to ash. She later reunites with Boyce and Rosenfeld, joining the ongoing battle against the remaining Germans. Meanwhile, Ford reaches the radio tower and successfully plants a timed explosive. As he turns to leave, he comes face to face with Waffner, now fully transformed into a monstrous super soldier. Waffner destroys the bomb and brutally beats Ford. Elsewhere, Boyce confronts Dr. Schmidt, who tries to shoot him. Boyce dodges the gunfire, and the two engage in a vicious struggle. Boyce ultimately stabs the doctor with his own scalpel and kills him. At the same time, Waffner drags Ford back into the lab, hooks him up, and tortures him in revenge. Boyce storms into the lab and unloads his weapon into Waffner, but the bullets barely affect the monster. During the chaos, Ford frees himself and injects the serum into his own body. As Waffner moves to kill Boyce, Ford steps in, and the two superpowered beings clash in a savage fight. Realizing he can't defeat Waffner through strength alone, Ford rolls an oxygen tank towards the creature. Boyce understands the plan and shoots the tank, causing a massive explosion that blasts Waffner backward. With a chance to escape, the soldiers prepare to retreat, but Ford suddenly pushes Boyce aside and seals the lab doors, insisting on staying behind to ensure the lab and the serum are completely destroyed. Heartbroken, Boyce accepts Ford's sacrifice and escapes. Inside the lab, the bodies of fallen soldiers, including Waffner, begin to rise once more. Accepting his fate, Ford detonates the explosives, eliminating the laboratory, the creatures, and himself in a massive blast. At the same time, Boyce reaches the tower, detonates the explosives, and watches as the entire church collapses into rubble. Soon after, a radio broadcast announces the success of the D-Day invasion, confirming a decisive Allied victory. In the final moments, Boyce reports back to his commanding officer, giving credit to Ford for the mission's success. When the sergeant asks about rumors of a hidden laboratory beneath the church, Boyce denies everything, stating that he saw nothing there except the radio station.